This is the POCO F6 Pro. This is probably the best budget flagship you can buy today, and I am gonna tell you why. My name is John, let's go. With sky-high prices of flagship smartphones in the Philippines nowadays, it's really difficult to get a phone that is under 40,000 pesos that has flagship specs. Now, the POCO F6 Pro has impressed us here at Unbox for the past week now because it has all of the things that you need in a flagship. It has a great display, it has a great processor, good camera. It's only let down by its battery performance, but we're gonna get into that in a bit. So unfortunately, POCO hasn't really told us how much the POCO F6 Pro would be in the Philippines. But rumors are it's going to be under 40,000 pesos. Now, if those turn out to be true, then the POCO F6 Pro would crush every other budget flagship here in the Philippines. You usually do not associate POCO phones with the word premium, simply because POCO uses plastic frames and plastic backs mainly to save cost. But the POCO F6 Pro is quite different. Now, the POCO F6 Pro uses a frosted matte glass back as well as an aluminum frame. This is the first time for the POCO brand and for this particular series to have such a premium exterior. The only thing that's holding the F6 Pro back from truly being at the same level of other flagship phones is IP resistance. This doesn't have any kind of IP resistance, so try and keep it away from water as much as possible. Another flagship feature that you usually do not see on phones that has this price is the beautiful display on the POCO F6 Pro. While it might only be a flat OLED panel, it's incredibly bright at 4,000 nits. It has HDR10 Plus along with 120Hz refresh rate, Dolby Vision. The native resolution is WQHD, although you can bump that resolution down to Full HD, which will become very important later when we start talking about battery life. Now, I really like this display. The bezels are very thin on the sides and on the bottom and top. The overall display quality is close to, dare I say, a Samsung Galaxy S24. There really is nothing to complain about this display. Really is one of the better displays in the market, especially considering the price range where it's at. Now, it's time to turn to the main cameras of this phone. Now, the main camera uses a Light Fusion 850 megapixel sensor. This is a specially tuned sensor by Xiaomi in cooperation with OmniVision. The main camera has an f1.6 aperture for a better collection of light, a PDAF and OIS. So there's also an 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera and annoyingly a 2 megapixel filler camera. Again, I really do not understand why Xiaomi still keeps putting these filler cameras on supposedly expensive phones. So the main camera is generally good, though don't expect flagship performance in low light as details are not as sharp. Despite being a sensor co-engineered by Xiaomi, the Light Fusion 800 is comparable to the IMX 890 sensor that's found on phones like the OnePlus 12R and Asus ROG Phone 8 Pro. The main camera lets you shoot up to 8K 30 video, and you can shoot HDR footage at 4K 30 if you want better dynamic range with an extra pop of detail with your videos. As far as that 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera goes, it feels like POCO has been using the same camera sensor for years now, and it shows in the photos. It's really an age sensor, and they really need to start looking for a different formula for their phones when it comes to the ultra-wide. Maybe just slap on an optical zoom lens on there. And as far as that 2 megapixel macro camera goes, they're still using the same old tactic when it comes to their phones, which is basically stuffing a 2 megapixel filler camera in there so there's like 3 cameras instead of 2. They really should stop doing that. It's just really annoying that for phones that are as expensive as the POCO F6 Pro, it's really not something I really like seeing, and I'm sure a lot of you are tired of seeing. So it's time to talk about the biggest strength of this phone: performance. Now, this phone uses a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip from last year, along with 16 gig of RAM and up to 1 terabyte of storage. Now, Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is still a pretty potent processor. It's not really that far off the performance of Qualcomm Snapdragon Gen 3. And honestly, you will only see the performance difference between the two generations if you have two phones running benchmarks beside each other. With regular use, we managed to actually demolish any apps that we use. It's great for gaming. It's a great chip for gaming. With Genshin Impact, we could set 60 frames per second, the highest resolution possible. No problems, very little to no stuttering. And while the phone did get a little warm, not really that different from the thermal performance that we get from regular flagship phones. You know, every time I make a video about a POCO phone, it seems like I'm complaining about the same thing when it comes to software. So now the POCO F6 Pro now comes with HyperOS. It's Android 14, and the same issues that I had with the previous POCO phones that I reviewed on this channel, you can actually look it up, is still here. There's still a lot of bloatware when we actually start up and start using the phone. This is a little bit unacceptable. POCO and Xiaomi, stop doing this for your high-end phones. People are paying really expensive prices for these phones, and they do not deserve to actually have to wade through all of this bloatware and uninstall them manually. So those are the issues that I have with the software. The good news is, if they stick to it, is that POCO is promising up to 3 years of updates for the phone. So you're getting at least 2 major Android updates and up to 3 years of security updates for the phone. So whatever you feel about all of the bloatware, at least the phone will be up to date. As far as battery goes, the POCO F6 Pro has 5000 mAh of battery along with 120 watts of fast charging. That is even faster than the charging speeds of the previous flagship phones that we've used. So that 120 watt charger is going to come in handy because we noticed that the battery life of the POCO F6 Pro isn't that great. In WQHD mode, using PCMark battery benchmark, we only got about 9.5 hours of full charge before the phone hit 20%. On full HD mode, we got around 11.5 hours using the same test. I think this is something with the software because the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor should be more power efficient than that. So should you buy the POCO F6 Pro? As we are making this video, we are working off of the rumored under 40,000 peso price point for this particular phone. We will have the official pricing here right now. We're showing you the price. But if it is under 40,000 pesos, it is very good pricing, especially what you're getting for. You're not getting a camera powerhouse, you are getting a phone that is essentially a daily driver. It has a great display, has very good performance, plenty of storage, and a premium design. The camera is not so great, but it's still good enough for daily use. If you want something that is reliable, will get you through the day, and will last you quite a few years before you have to upgrade, then the POCO F6 Pro is the phone for you. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. We're gonna spend a little bit more time with the POCO F6 Pro. So if you have any questions about the phone, just drop it down below and we will be monitoring this chat for around a few days to answer your questions. Until next time, my name is John. Peace out.